One thing motivates the activity of every single human soul. Some might say it's money, spending a huge percentage of our day at a place we call work. Some might say it's love, seeking of relationships. Some might say it's accumulation of possessions. Constantly trying to keep up with others. But underneath all of these aspects is one thing: to feel valuable. The highest form of wealth is self-worth. A self-worth that I can carry with me throughout the day. So it's not the seeking of value that motivates my behavior, but the sharing of value that inspires my actions. Whether it's people, possessions, or positions. I reflect and ask myself, in these various aspects of my day-to-day life, am I taking or am I giving? Expressing or expecting? For one who has deep self-worth, they need very little. And they share so much without any desire for return or recognition. Om Shanti.
Shanti, good evening and welcome to Interview with the Raj Yogi. And tonight's session is connecting the value of my study today to daily life. And the reason why there was this inspiration for this topic was for those who join for regular class, Raja Yoga. And I found it was quite interesting because it was about making things relevant. You can use the word service, but it really felt like is this study relevant to just anywhere I'm going? But the question that came up was, what's the biggest barrier? And it was if I'm not seeing others in a pure way. And at least for me, it just found it fascinating because it felt like this a cyclical thing. That means I'm not applying it. So I did find the meditation commentary actually very relevant, and so I was hoping Sister Judy would have caught, the feeling of the title. But you were sharing in the meditation commentary that if there is no sense of self value, then that really affects everything about the study about it being relevant. I was wondering if you could maybe share a bit about that, because Raja Yoga Foundations is always about inner value, and it kind of seems kind of funny if I'm not seeing others with that value too, but it has to come from the inside out.
Om Shanti. One of the main formulas that we work with in Raj Yoga is however I am connecting to the self or the relationship with the self, colors the relationship with everything else, other people, resources, even the study. So we're always told to be in a certain consciousness before embarking, even studying, even listening to spiritual ideas, be in a certain consciousness. So how to shift that paradigm? Otherwise, what happens is, in a way, we're kind of fighting with ourselves. What I kind of took from the class this morning was this idea of the two wheels need to move along together. So we're kind of fighting with ourselves. There's a part of us that's always there, actually, very subterranean in the subconscious, but always there because we're always a soul. So there's a part of us that wants to benefit the self, uplift the self, operate from a place of personal dignity or self-worth in every human soul. And then there's larger and larger presence inside that is sabotaging that and consistently through the senses seeking out some other form or drive to operate. So there's a little battle inside, but that battle is overwhelmingly stacked on one side until we embark on a spiritual study to the point that we don't even know there's a battle. It's just overwhelmingly stacked in physicality. So we come into the study and slowly, we get certain wisdom, we start to connect to God, and it becomes more and more of an equal-sided battle. How to put more and more weight on the spiritual side is a huge part. So I don't feel like I'm sabotaging myself. So the more that I focus on the relationship with the self, it's like adding more and more drops of self-worth, self-recognition. I'm giving more and more weight to the side that truly wants to benefit the self. So lots of attention on the relationship with the self.
Do you feel that when I benefit myself more and more, there's just a natural pull to see others in a pure way? Because that's what I found very interesting was that, in this morning's class was like, you can't even benefit others if you don't see them with a pure vision. But that means one hasn't been applying it to others, but what would drive one to apply it to others? Because there seems like we could be coming from a wrong alignment. That's the case with physical fitness, but I'm sure that's also the case in this study too.
Sort of criminal vision is used, this idea of stealing or taking, that we actually take a lot through our vision as we go through the day, and that's in opposition to serving. They're on two different ends of the spectrum, taking or serving. So, we've talked a lot about filling up, but really being able to develop this different sort of context, experience inside where I don't feel I'm so needy, is really, really critical. It's impossible to serve. In fact, any so-called service we do will also be taking. So, and I think something interesting to note is when we look at little infants, we would think an infant's very needy, but actually they give a lot. Their vision is very pure, the way they see it. And we were once little infants, so we have this. And so, in other words, our natural way of operating or pure way of operating is to not take so much, especially not through the senses that we don't see in this very superficial way. And so we're just kind of restoring something that was very natural, and that creates a faith inside, which creates an enthusiasm inside. And that was a key part of today's class is the enthusiasm. So on one side, self-sabotage, on the other side, alive enthusiasm. So I need to keep reminding myself, this is my original state. I'm restoring my original state.
So for the students, the first students in the study, some may be aware or not aware, but they did spend 14 years in solitude within each other as like-minded souls studying Raja Yoga, but still they were with each other, so they had to apply this with each other. Ideally speaking, I mean it's. So I don't know if you know much about the stories of the original students in terms of that time, or even Brahma Baba, like how fast they were applied. If it was because they really received a lot of the benefit quite early on in the study.
Definitely, I think they were unique individuals. The ones who were able to stay with it. But also they were very focused in what they chose to practice. In fact, they practiced, period, which is something we need to check we're doing. So from the moment that they woke up, spiritual vision, bye-bye. They say that they would sit on the edge of their bed and have this vision with each other. And whenever they met each other, before they came into words, first there would be this stabilizing and spiritual vision. So they're very intentional in honoring and nurturing and empowering that very original or pure way of operating. I don't know if we're that intentional all the time. Like we tend to maybe stay a bit in a theoretical place. We get the idea, we know about it, but then the actual practice, they practiced a lot. And that's when it starts to come back online.
We often hear, though, that if my foundation isn't strong, then how can I apply it to others? And again, this is obviously we're not in their shoes. And if I wasn't sure if perhaps that their state of soul consciousness was so meaningful that they were always practicing from that basis, because maybe souls are practicing, but they're not soul conscious, trying to have that vision of others. Something is like sort of like what comes first, or is it still being able to just at least create a habit no matter where I am inside?
One thing I sense from the sharing is they were very clear about the destination and very excited about the destination. They used to say, look what God is making us into, look what we become through this study. And so able to articulate that, and not necessarily words, but an experience, a stage of what one becomes through this endeavor. This is the case with any study. There is some objective that souls get very excited about. It might be, I'll be able to make a lot of money when I finish this study, or I'll be able to impress others, or whatever the case might be. So the why of what they were doing, it was really strong, what they will become. And that was meaningful to them, to be such, benevolent beings. Very important for them to live according to certain principles themselves, but also to be extremely caring to their fellow men was very important for their own conscience. So they were really enamored with the objective. And I think, yes, to some degree, everyone has that feeling. They want to help their fellow man. They want to live according to certain principles or core values. But how far am I willing to take that? When I go out the door in the morning, how much is that top of my mind? How much is it motivating my activity? Or do I get lost in the activity? Am I thinking about what I need to do? Do I feel other things are more important or priorities? So it was not just number one priority, it was the only priority. And that really made them happy to keep that as the single soul priority, what I become through this study.
just with this aspect, then, if it was genuine value and benefit one was feeling aside, and you were talking about benefiting humanity, would that then make the difference of whether that love to benefit others would be sustainable? Because is there a possibility that one could burn out? Because that's is actually often inside the minds of many. It's totally driven into you in terms of the healthcare profession. Burnout. There's research about it. It's all over the place. It's this fear of actually overdoing it.
One thing that sort of became clear in watching their lives is, and this is not to insult any of us, but we actually don't know how to be benevolent. If it is true, it does not burn out, because a truly benevolent being is fed and energized by that benevolence. It doesn't take away their energy, it actually they accumulate more and more. So we haven't really to be to give, we want to help, but there's too much interference of very limited consciousness, beliefs, ideas, expectations, desires. It's all kind of interfering, draining us. So I don't think it's actually benevolence. I don't think it's actually health care. So because you don't burn out if it's the real deal.
And as you were sharing earlier, that question was, I'll word it a bit so it's accessible to souls, but, what is the main obstacle that prevents one using the study to benefit others? And as you said, it was criminal vision. So perhaps maybe this is the last question. What do you feel one needs to really focus on? Because one could say, okay, let me just pay more attention to benefiting others. What would I need to really focus on to get right? And need courage to focus on with patience, because it seems like maybe one's foundation really needs to be in check.
It seems like the answer to every question is always the same. Soul consciousness. I need to focus on soul consciousness. Everything depends on that. How I feel about myself, what resources I emerge or awaken in myself. I love that it was about awakening others. Today, serving is awakening others. My connection to God, which is a huge source of self-care, actually. How I feel about others, it all depends on spirituality, on a spiritual consciousness. So even though it's the most basic thing in the study, it's lesson 1, it is the most advanced lesson to really get it right.
Well, thank you, Sister Judy, and thank you for those for joining. We'll have a little reflection.
Seeing a flower or a tree or anything to grow. Of course, the first thing I need to do is plant the seed and take as much time as needed to care for the seed so the fruit is very healthy and abundant. Some seeds require a lot of attention before any results emerge, and that's okay. The seed is the most important, most valuable thing. And when it comes to a human being, the seed is consciousness, awareness of the self. I. Who am I? I have many limited physical answers to that question, but I need a far deeper seed to create a very beautiful, bountiful, unlimited tree. a timeless seed that is resistant to any external influence, resilient to uncertainty and change. So I need to go deep underground, under all the layers and labels, and discover the essence of the self, what is timeless about myself, the timeless sense of self. I, of course, am me, not the body, not the labels, not even the relationships or responsibilities. Me, the thinker, the being, I, the soul. Spending time underground in a quiet space, inside, just with the seed of self. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti. Thank you for joining with us this evening. Just a warm reminder, we do have quite a few upcoming Raja Yoga courses that we've posted onto the website. So for those who have not taken the course or would like to do like a refresh of the course, please look at the website. We have all of these drop-in sessions on site and online as well at the Inner Peace Center, as well at the Academy. And you will find that all on our website and also on Eventbrite. Thank you so much for joining. Om Shanti.